This app looks like the best thing coming to Apple Vision Pro, but it's not real. So we've seen a new video circling the internet about an F1 app coming to Apple Vision Pro, and it looks incredible. So describing the video is, it looks like you're watching F1 on your TV, and on your coffee table is a whole 3D rendering of the entire track. It looks incredible. It's like a bunch of little toy cars going around.
Yeah.
And when you look at a specific area, you'll literally see screens come up that are the actual camera feeds of that F1 corner. And so you could see where each individual car is around the track, and as you look at something, you can get a closer look. It looks incredible, and it's just one of the most creative uses we've seen of the Apple Vision Pro yet. The problem is, this is an app from 2018 that is resurfacing, because I think it's the right time for it to resurface with the Apple Vision Pro, but this is just a concept. And a lot of people are sharing this like this is an app coming at launch, but unfortunately it's not. We'd love to see this app. I'm not even an F1 fan, and I'd love to see this app come, and I'd love to use it.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of the video?
I think it's pretty awesome. Yeah, it demonstrates like a really good use, because you're still seeing the original feed and then you're just adding to it. And I think the eye tracking is going to be a huge thing. I think for anything on the Apple Vision, the eye tracking is going to be a big step up from other headsets. But for this, yeah, instead of just you're looking around and then you have to like click a button to get something, it's just like when your eyes go there, maybe it increases the window size and then you see that particular view and then you go back to your normal view and that closes. All sorts of interaction that doesn't require much input.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like, I've been watching a lot of videos of people doing dishes with their Quest or something, and you constantly have to drag this window around with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine some of the Apple Vision Pro stuff is the same, because it's hard. Like, how do you know where it sits in AR? You have to map the whole surroundings, or you have to be doing that in real time. So the fact that you actually have that eye tracking now, where even if it's stationary, that it can actually see your inputs. It's so cool.
Yeah. And it allows it to go beyond just multiple windows in your space, because everything can be adaptive and interactive. And like we see in that video, there's the coffee table with the track itself. And that's just so far beyond just having like 4 different windows of different views.
Yeah, it seems like people really can't imagine things in 3 dimensions. And whether this app is real or not, I just love that the concept actually shows people how things are going to change. I think a lot of what we've seen with Apple Vision Pro is just people assuming that it's going to be a lot of screens, like it's going to replace your screen, or it's going to be, a laptop screen. It's not going to be a screen. It's going to be all these things that you can't even imagine it because you haven't seen them yet. So the fact that we do have people working on these things is incredible. And we're talking about, I want to see every version of this for everything now. It just reminds me of Star Wars when you see, playing chess with the, the figures that are attacking each other. That's probably the first game I want to see do something like this in AR. But what are things you want to see come to this in AR?
Well, I'd love to see that. I don't think we've seen like multiplayer games where you're in the same space and 2 people are wearing the headsets. Obviously, that's a $7,000 game you're going to play.
Yeah.
But, at some point when it comes down in price, playing a game together in the same space and both headsets are recognizing the same location for the game board or whatever. And the cool thing about the F1 concept is it's using all of the telemetry that they already have from all of these cars. In theory, that's what it would be doing, because other events, it's like you're tracking humans and you can't have a ton of trackers on them. But in this case, whatever it's rendering can be extremely accurate.
Yeah, they were talking about the Toy Story football thing that happened earlier this year. And they said the renderings were good, but just not great. Like the tracking on the people was good, but not incredible. And so you got a cool feed that sort of looked like a video game. But this F1 concept, they were talking about how they already have all this data on these cars in real time. And so, yeah, definitely they'll be able to make something much more detailed than a sports game right now, unless everyone wears motion capture suits, which I don't think is going to happen.
Eventually, who knows?
Yeah,
just a couple points, enough that it can render something that's convincing for the headset. And that's also just like your bonus feed. You're still watching the game.
Yeah, and I agree that I don't think this is going to replace yet a nicely edited, sports game or a nicely edited piece of entertainment. Because as shooting cameras, we know that your shot isn't always a good shot. Your camera guy has to move, and so he's not always going to have the best feed for you. So a nicely 2D edited version of something is going to be a really great version of something that you don't want to leave behind. But adding to that experience, especially if you're alone and not watching the game with friends, adding to that experience of immersion can be really awesome.
Yeah, definitely. This got me also thinking about what other sports I'd want to see this on. And F1 is like one of the only sports actually that you're not looking at humans.
Yeah, it is weird.
So that makes it easier in that case that they can render stuff and it's not like it's some weird avatar. So what other sports though would you want to see?
I want to see, I like football. I'm a football guy and I'm a hockey guy. And those seem like two of the hardest sports to do because hockey's so fast paced. People are on skates and moving. Football would be the most obvious use case, though. It's just the biggest sport out there. Everyone around the world likes American football. And so you really need to go after that biggest market first to get that first thing to market. How cool would it be to just have that? I mean, because that's what it's like if you're at the stadium, you could be in your seat, you could see fans next to you or whatever, wherever the camera's set up, and you could see your little feed of the game as you're watching the screen too on your TV.
Yeah.
I think that's a better experience. And like, even if it's not the Apple Vision Pro version of this, which is like the best of the best, if this was on a Quest, it would be fun. If it was on any VR or AR experience, it would be fun.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think we need a lot out of this. Just these concepts of these AR things that people can see with things that they actually, like, instead of just, this is an AR game where you have a dinosaur in your house or something. It's like, okay, that's cool, but how am I connected to that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and right now we're seeing the concepts where it's, with the Apple Vision, since it's still a bulky VR headset, it makes a lot of sense at home. But if you were to go to a game and then have things added to it, you don't want to be wearing this giant headset.
Yeah, that
you want to
sounds
be
ridiculous.
there. So, but this is like the version 1. So in the future, maybe these could eventually just be like very small glasses. And then you have some kind of pocket thing that you're wearing. And then that allows you to be much more present and you're actually seeing the world in AR as opposed to a fully recreated world.
Yeah, another thing too I'd love to see is like history sites, old history sites. If you render those in 3D and AR, and then you could like actually see them in 3D, and then actually just when you look at each individual piece, like a guided tour, that'd be so cool and a way for people to travel that isn't leaving their house. I know tons of people who hate those plane flights and don't want to leave their home. So just this would be such a cool way to experience history, experience sports, experience entertainment, just a ton of new things that we haven't seen before.
Totally. And eventually, it allows you to experience all those things for far cheaper than actually flying.
Yeah, definitely. So we want to see this app and Apple pay someone to develop it. How much would you pay for this app?
The F1 app? I also don't really watch F1, so...
How much would you pay for it if it was the only app available like this?
I don't know, like $60?
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think because it's so new and everything has to come with a premium, I was thinking 50.
Mm-hmm.
But
60 came to mind because of like video game pricing.
But it's the same thing, right? Like,
yeah.
And then it doesn't mean you need to watch every F1 race in real time. Like, it would just be cool to go see one of these every once in a while. And you have to pay that premium for the new thing, It's not, like you're saying, video games. It's developed on 1, maybe 2 platforms if you're lucky.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to make all that money back, and you can't sell Spider-Man for, 99 cents on the App Store.
Yeah, that does always seem to be a weird issue, is because the games are like not as expansive as AAA games because it's for a headset that isn't quite as powerful and it's having to do so much. But at the same time, for them to recoup the development costs, since it's new, it actually probably needs to be expensive. But people that are buying games on a headset don't want to pay $60 if it doesn't feel like you're getting the same value as a $60 AAA game.
Yeah, they have that on the Quest right now where most things are in the $30 price range or lower.
Yeah.
Unless it is, a very well-developed game.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree that even though you're not going to get a lot out of these apps. Like, there's only so many F1 races a year. There's only so many games in a season. You know, you have once a week in football. There's still going to be the people paying the premium for those sorts of things. And we're basically going to, as the early adopters, you know, fund this next generation of AR and VR products.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, that's how like most technology these days works.
I am worried about Apple Vision Pro because Quest has so much on it already, and it's been easy to develop for it. And PC VR is the same way. They sort of share the same library for the most part. So are we going to be able to adopt those things? Are we going to get those things on Apple Vision Pro ever? Or does it have to be its own lane? And if it's its own lane and you can only develop something for Apple Vision Pro, will most developers shy away because of that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because certain apps that you might just try to port over, you know, you don't have controllers. And that's a huge difference with the Apple Vision. So it might be clunky when they try to port it over, or they have to make an entirely different version, which is tough.
Yeah, because you don't have eye tracking on any of those other devices, right?
Yeah.
So, like, what you would intuitively want on Apple Vision and what feels natural is not the same experience on Quest at all. So when you don't have access to that entire library, it's going to feel like a MacBook where, you know, you have your list of App Store games and it's really not a gaming device. You have your Quest for gaming and you have your Apple Vision Pro. And at the, you know, almost $4,000 after tax, it doesn't feel like, you know, the greatest investment at this point.
Yeah, you could get 5 MetaQuest 3s for the price of one Apple Vision. Wait, no, 7.
7.
Yeah, 7 of them.
Oh my gosh. How many MetaQuest 2s is it?
Well, I guess that would be like 11 and a half. If that's $300, which I think it is. Yeah. So who designed this Formula One concept?
This was made by John Lepore and Sanu Sagar. You can actually find where their videos are shared from pretty easily. They're on Twitter. Their video is incredible. Go check it out.